Incorporating overseas can give your business a lot of benefits, from lower taxes, easier access to markets, more simplicity in managing your business, even a residence permit or citizenship. But there's one disturbing trend that I've been seeing people talking about recently when it comes to finding the best place to incorporate. So today, I'm going to share with you one strategy that I believe you should not use when it comes to choosing the best country to incorporate. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson, and here at Nomad Capitalist, I spent over a dozen years building a global network of experts and hiring a team of almost 30 people who help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs legally go where they're treated best. You can learn more at nomadcapitalist.com. And incorporating overseas is something that has made my life a lot easier. It has expanded my mindset. It's saved me a lot of money in unnecessary taxes for countries I don't live in my case, the United States. But there's one thing that I'm seeing people talk about that I think is the wrong approach. And I'll tell you why I think I'm seeing it here on our channel. You know, we've put out over 1,000 videos at this point. We've had nearly 2,000 blog posts, and we keep going back and updating many of them. And so there's a lot of content out there where we talk about the best place to bank, we talk about the best places to live, and we talk about all the different places where you can plant your flags. And so what I see people doing is often conflating where they're going to live with where they're going to start their business. I saw one example recently where somebody said, I'm really excited to move to Sri Lanka. I've got friends there. There's a lot of opportunities in the country. I want to be like investing in real estate there. And so I'm going to go and I'm going to set up my business and lower my taxes. And somebody pointed out, well, you know, taxes in Sri Lanka aren't actually like that much lower than where you're coming from. It's like, oh, well, that's interesting. I guess I didn't really think about it, right? And so what I want to remind you is you have to be intentional with where you set up every part of your nomad capitalist lifestyle, okay? Now, there are certain offshore jurisdictions that just generally don't work that much anymore, with some exceptions. The Marshall Islands, Belize, the Seychelles. Those may work for some, unique circumstances in kind of a global structure. They may work if you're holding money in a retirement account or some kind of passive investment vehicle in some cases. But generally speaking, for an active business, jurisdictions like that just aren't working anymore. We've talked about how onshore is the new offshore. And particularly if you're from the United States, you want to make sure you have not only a reputable jurisdiction, but you have a proper corporate structure that allows you to do everything from accept credit cards to minimize your taxes. Okay, so that's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about here is trying to say that you're going to move to a country and then start your business there. Now, there are some cases where this might work. Let's say Bulgaria, for example. You can move to Bulgaria, corporate tax rate is 10%. You can hire people, and if you hire enough of them, you can get permanent residence. Now, the question is, do you want to spend any time, living in Bulgaria? But potentially there's a path to a residence and a path to a citizenship in the European Union that's relatively tax friendly. So if your business makes, $2 million a year in profit, and you have to wait, let's call it, 3 or 4 years to get citizenship, are you willing to pay $200,000 a year, $600,000, $800,000, $1 million in total, however long it takes you to qualify for the program? Is that citizenship or is that residence permit worth it? Because you potentially could have gone to the UAE or the BVI or anywhere else and you could have paid zero, or you could have gone somewhere else in Europe and paid 5% and gotten a different passport. So, when it comes to getting residence and citizenship from company formation, I think for most high-level entrepreneurs, it's just not as much worth it. Because the cost that you're going to pay in terms of hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions of dollars in taxes a year by putting those two things in one often doesn't work. If you're running a company in the six figures, that can often work. What also can work is saying, I'm going to compartmentalize my company and I'm going to have one company over here in Estonia or Lithuania, and I'm going to get a residence permit by hiring some people. Maybe I'll spend minimal time in that country and stay out of their tax stamp, but then I will run my big company over here and they'll work back and forth. Now you're getting into a complex structure, and I'm not trying to make this a video about tax advice. I'm just trying to say there's different ways that you can accomplish this. I think generally just saying, I'm moving to Estonia. I hear I can get a residence permit if I set up a company there, and I'll just defer the tax to later. I don't like that strategy as much. And I especially don't like this strategy when people say, oh, I heard Andrew really likes Georgia, so I'm going to Georgia and I'm setting up a company in Georgia. I don't know that I ever told anyone to set up a company in Georgia, right? Now, I've said that if you're a young entrepreneur and you're looking for interesting opportunities, emerging markets like Georgia, there's a lot of opportunities. My goodness, can someone please come and set up a really nice real estate website in Georgia? I will be client number one. You will become, I think, pretty successful starting a great real estate agency with a great front end. So if you're going to do that and you're going to be in Georgia, physically doing business in Georgia, hiring Georgians, then okay, at least some part of your corporate structure needs to be in Georgia. Maybe there's some offshore component, maybe not. But barring that, you can live in Georgia without incorporating in Georgia. And so the key is looking at things like controlled foreign corporation rules in a country. Looking at, what do you need to do to become tax resident or not become tax resident in a country. And so it's possible that you could enjoy a residence permit in a country, spend part of your time there, not be a taxpayer there, and then have your company somewhere else. It's also possible that if you've got a successful business, you just want to go out and get an investment residence permit. Let's say you want to live in Europe, so you go out and get a Portugal Golden Visa. You don't spend much time in Portugal, but you use it as a chance to explore Europe a bit. But yet your company is somewhere else. And so I really want to remind you, every piece of the puzzle needs to be separate. This is like a buffet. You come to the buffet with your plate, and you want a little bit of chicken, you want a little bit of fish. Okay, big heaping of the crab legs and the shrimp. You ever go to like the Wynn buffet in Las Vegas or in Macau, and you can just see people piling their plates high with these delectable shrimp. They have like the best seafood. So maybe you pile it high with some of the good stuff, but you also want a little bit of mashed potatoes, a little bit of vegetables. You want to go for those cute little desserts at the end. You don't just want plate after plate of crab legs or after giant prawns or octopus. You want to have a balanced buffet. And the same thing really applies here. Now, there will be times if I'm making a plan for someone where I'll say, hey, listen, you'd like to live in this country, and we can use that as a springboard to hire someone over here, and that does that. There's some ways where you can make it work together, and that will save you money because you have fewer moving parts. But especially if you are earning in the 7 or 8 or 9 figures in terms of your business, compartmentalization is especially important, even in the lower 6-figure range. But please, don't say I want to move to Georgia, I want to move to Sri Lanka, I want to move to wherever and set up a company. Also, don't think that you can just move to Australia or you can move to France, set up your company somewhere else, but live in that country, live in Australia or France full time and not pay tax, because that's where things like the controlled foreign corporation rules come in, or permanent establishment rules. There's so many different rules that apply. So you want to get advice on everything that is happening in your company, where the employees are, where the manufacturing is, where the shipping is from, all these kinds of things have to be considered. But please, don't like a country. What I would also say, don't like a country and then just incorporate there for fun. I can tell you when I first started out looking at this stuff for myself many years ago, I understand the exoticism of, I want to have like a connection to Hong Kong. That seems really sexy. And then you go to Hong Kong and you figure out that the banks in Hong Kong don't want to open a bank account for you. Or you say, I love Singapore. It seems like it's the greatest place. And Eduardo Saverin moved there, so it must be the place to go. And then you realize it's more expensive to set up a company there. There's taxes, even if you don't live there. I mean, it's just, it's not as efficient, right? Or some people will say, I wouldn't really want to live in the UAE. I don't really agree with what they do. Well, you don't have to live there, right? Look at your company as a sort of flag of convenience. Now, again, it's not a get-out-of-jail-free pass where you can just set up your company in a free zone in the UAE and then go and live in Australia full-time and not pay any tax. They figured that one out. That one doesn't work. But if you're living a nomad capitalist, tax-friendly lifestyle, whether it's in one place, whether you're moving around, whatever it may be, you have the choice. And you don't have to love the country where your company is incorporated or the countries where it's incorporated in a structure. No more than the cruise ship operators have a great love for Panama or Liberia, whose flags they fly in the side of their ship. So I almost think that you should maybe, not love the country that you're incorporated in so much, just because I don't want people to make the initial mistake that I did I never actually made this mistake in doing it, but my initial ideas and kind of fantasizing about how this would work many years ago, first researching, were totally, unrealistic. I wanted to set up in these weird jurisdictions where no one could find me, but I also wanted to set up in places where, I wanted to feel a connection. And then I realized offshore is all about transparency. You have to do things properly. And so I'm happy that I never had to learn that lesson the hard way. By the time I started doing it, I realized you need to be transparent. You need to be doing things properly. You can't just hide out from the tax man. So take that as advice to make sure that your company structure doesn't become a personal thing for you. How you live, where you spend your time, that is personal. The corporate structure should serve the needs to speak to the rest of your life, much like you earn money to buy things that you want. The money itself may not be the goal. It's the things that it buys, it's the comfort it creates, it's the peace of mind, it's the sense of having options. I think corporate structure works much the same way. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.